Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, before I get started, just some news if people don't know already. But Natalia Livingston, the woman who played Emily Quartermain, the second one, is going to be coming back to General Hospital at some point. I don't know if she's coming back this week or if it's going to be next week. I saw the promos for it, but I think that's actually pretty interesting. Let me just pause it for 1 second. Now, just a note from, I guess, just my thoughts on it. I think it's actually going to be really interesting. I don't think she's actually going to be playing a twin. Here's the thing about this character. So they killed her off before, and then they tried to do the whole she's come back as a twin or whatever. Literally, she came back as Emily's sister. Rebecca Shaw, something like that. And, I don't know, it didn't work. It just did not work. And they pretty much kind of sent her packing. So, it's actually pretty interesting. She's actually going to be coming back. I think she was on Days at one point, too. But, yeah, she's actually going to be coming back. I'm assuming, and I'm not sure, she's going to be a different character. But it should be interesting. Also, for whatever odd reason, I feel like I'm coming down with a cold or something. So, I may be pausing it because I don't want people to see me blowing my nose and everything. Anyway, with that being said, sorry it just came out so late day, and, yeah, just a late day. Mondays is usually always my late day, so my stuff is usually going to come out more later than the rest of the week. Let me pause it for a second. So, with that out the way, let me know what your thoughts on Natalia Livingston coming back. You excited? Are you not excited? What's your thoughts on it? Well, let's start with the kids. Or the teens at this point. Jocelyn, Trina, Dev, and Cam. Long story short, you have a conversation with Dev and Cam, and Dev is like, listen, you need to decide on who you're going to pick. Or pick no one. Make a decision. And Cam is kind of caught in the middle, because he's like, I don't want to sit there and pretend I'm friends with one person, or just want to be friends with the other person. I don't know what I should do. I don't want to hurt anyone. And, at that, Dev actually gave him, he was like, listen, just start with this back and forth. Either pick one or the other, or don't pick either of them. Because this is crazy. And, I mean, listen, we don't all agree that he should just pick one or the other, or just pick neither. But you have to sit there and kind of remember that this is coming from a teen's perspective. And, hell, it's hard for adults to actually make those type of decisions. Let alone a 15, 16-year-old kid. So, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember which option he chose. Because, well, you had Trina and Jocelyn just off. Trina was still feeling down about her dad, and Jocelyn was just there to help, just to talk her through it or whatever, and she felt better, and she decided to go back to prom, and I don't know, I guess they decided to dance and just kind of have a good time, since it's their last time all being together. I gotta apologize, I'm sorry. Trust me, it's a lot better than you seeing me sneeze and everything and blow my nose. It's just, So, Stella has an interesting conversation with Curtis. This is after her conversation. Here's the thing with Stella. Stella is very old school. So, when she was sitting there talking about TJ and Molly's thing, she kept sitting there saying marriage. And, Jordan had to sit there and constantly correct her, like, hey, listen, it's not a marriage, it's a communion or some alternative thing to marriage or whatever. And she says something along the lines of, when did these young kids start thinking of marriage as the enemy? Listen, I'm not going to sit there and try to tell people or whatever, get on this high horse about you know, it's either marriage or nothing or whatever. You know, some people work better just being boyfriend and girlfriend, just being committed. Some people feel like once you put a, you know, marriage or whatever, it just kind of just complicates things or makes things a lot more heavier. I'm not going to get to that discussion because trust me, let's just say a while back with that whole Olivia thing, Olivia and Ned, and how she didn't want to get married, and then going on Facebook and reading the comments, it was just toxic as hell. So I'm not going to get into that. But I'm not a fan of the whole Molly thing and the whole, you know, this is so patriarchy and whatever. So anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting that she didn't really get the whole idea of like, you know, marriage isn't like maybe marriage back in her day was like, you know, they didn't have any alternative. It was either marriage or practically nothing. So I thought that was interesting. But she also had a conversation with Curtis about Portia, and I don't really understand where this was going from, because she was talking to Curtis. She was like, Curtis mentioned Portia, and you know, she did that sort of thing, and then Curtis was like, nah, we go way back, you know, it's just a long time ago, way back, and you know, Stella was like, how far way back? Pretty much into saying like, I don't know, like, make sure your business is done and just be honest with your wife. And she was also kind of getting on Jordan a little bit about TJ. Because, you know, they told her, no, Stella told them about the whole protest that TJ and Molly's going to do. And, you know, Stella was like, listen, he needs to sit there and take out his anger or whatever in some sort of way. Because he's still dealing with that trauma of what happened. And, you know, the PCP just, you know, not really doing much to try to catch the culprit or whatever. You had Curtis that just gave that look like, seriously, we're really doing this? But this was more of a way for Jordan to kind of realize, like, yo, I gotta talk some sense into TJ, because, yeah. Now, just a quick little backstory. Before Jordan talks to TJ, you got TJ and Molly talking, and they're talking about trying to gather and rally up a bunch of people to do this protest. And, talks to, you know, TJ brings up Brando. And TJ's like, you know, are you going to help out with the protest? And Brando was being more shorter with TJ than normal. And that's because of Molly. This whole thing is just a mess. And, you know, whether Molly knew or not, was they over it or whatever the case is, this is a mess. And this is Molly's fault. And I feel like she's just like kind of being like, you know, like she's being disrespectful to Brando, and she's just kind of hoping things that just kind of works out in this magical way where she can still keep a relationship with TJ without letting anyone know. She keeps it to saying, well, I'm just unburdening myself, and that's not fair. And I'm like, no, you're just being a coward. But anyway, Brando just kind of just shoots him down or whatever. It's like, he walks away. And he's all like, you know, listen, you shouldn't do this because Cyrus is dangerous. And then he just gets really short with him and walks away. And that's because Molly was like, don't become too friendly with him. And I'm just like, Molly, what the hell are you doing? But anyway, TJ was kind of blown. He was like, where did that come from? I thought we were cool. Like, what's going on? And that's when Jordan comes in, and Jordan's like, listen, Cyrus is not somebody you want to mess with. Plus, he's the chairman. I just don't want... Because at first she almost slipped up. She was like, I don't want what I did to go to waste. And TJ was like, well, what does that mean? And then she tried to cover it up or whatever, but... She realized that she couldn't change his mind. And she was like, listen, I get that you're going through a lot of pain, but if you want to talk, talk. At this point, it doesn't even matter if TJ talks to her. She just needs him to talk to somebody, because the whole feeling powerless, I feel like, is another part of why he's trying to do this whole protest. It's not just because, he feels it's the right thing to do, but it's because he wants to gain some sense of control. So I understand where he's coming from. Anyway, I think that just kind of ends and they just hug each other, whatever. Yeah, actually a lot of stuff happened. You got Ryan that called Ava. And here's my whole thing. Ryan calls Ava, and Ryan's like, I want you to pretty much come down to the prison to see me. You know what happens if you keep me waiting. And, he's all like, oh, you love me, this, that, and the third. And he's like, well, make sure you come down to the prison. And I'm just sitting there thinking, Ava, why don't you just tell him to kick rocks? It's not like are you really that afraid of him, escaping jail again? Because I'm pretty sure after maybe the second or third time, they're probably going to be a little more stricter on him as far as, him leaving. So I don't really understand why. And yeah, at the end, she did decide to go to visit him. I'm like, why are you still giving him so much power for? Like, why? It's not like he's going to get out tomorrow and just decide to kill someone. I don't really whatever. Anyway, she talks to Nicholas. They get into this argument for a little bit about how, first of all, she tried to compare what Nicholas did to what Ryan did, and I'm like, wow, Ava, you're really wrong with that. And after they talk, after Nicholas pretty much just kind of throws some sense into her, and he takes responsibility for his actions as far as, that whole thing where he tried to make Ava go crazy with Kiki and stuff like that. He owned up to it, and he was just like, listen, I may be bad, and I've had my bad moments, but this guy is 1,000 times worse. So after they talk or whatever, they get back into that place where they feel like they're going to start to have some sort of romance going on. I don't know how long that's going to last, and I hope they don't do this whole back and forth thing. Just pick a side and let them ride it out for a little bit. I'm so sick and tired of this will they, won't they's, sort of thing of, the picture's going to come out, then they're upset with each other, and they're at each other's throats. It's like, just pick a damn side and go with it. Anyway, they had a nice moment, and I need to, once again, 1 second. So looking forward to that red nose tomorrow when I wake up in the morning. So let's talk about Sonny, Jason, and Brando. So Sonny and Jason are sitting there trying to have a strategy meeting about how to deal with Cyrus. And Brando comes in and he's like, listen, I'll be the mole. I'll sit there and be your inside man. Working with Cyrus, and then, well, actually, tell you the truth, I don't remember what the rest of the plan was. He was just like, I'm going to be the inside guy. And, Sonny's like, I don't know if that's a good idea, because here's the thing. You may think that you being on Cyrus, Cyrus' side or whatever, playing him, may work towards our advantage. But, you being my cousin and everything like that, he can use it as a hostage. And then that's not going to work for anyone. And then Brando makes some speech about how, you know what, listen, I'd rather go out as a soldier fighting than, to just go out as a casualty. Because he's like, listen, I've been in this the day I stepped foot in Port Charles. I guess he feels he wants to have some sort of control. So he walks away, and Jason, Jason's like, listen, it's up to him, and we'll just see what happens. We'll go from there. So, I actually tell you the truth, I think at this point, they're gonna use him as a mole. And I think we can all kind of guess where it's gonna go from there. I'm not gonna lie, that's the one, on the many things, that's the one thing that me and Brock's TV, have in common a little bit. Like, we can both see where this story is going from a mile away. So I understand where he was sitting there talking about how he complained about the writers and just like, making it better what it is, instead of this whole, everyone can kind of see where it's coming from. Everyone can see where the story's going to come from. Where it's going, as far as like, Brando's going to sit there and go on the inside, Cyrus going to sit there and figure it out. they're probably going to want him killing off Brando, because, I don't know, apparently people like him, and that's the bad thing or something. But, you know, the point is we can see the storyline coming, so I understand where Brock TV is coming from. And let's see. I just want to pause it for 1 second. I want to make sure I get everything out the way. Yeah, that's actually it. I just want to make sure, because I know I was probably talking a little bit faster than normal. That's also because every 5 minutes or whatever, I feel like I gotta blow my nose. And, yeah. So I want to make sure that I got everything out the way. And by the way, I do want to sit there and just quickly touch upon the fact that Kelly Monaco has been Sam for about 17-something years. And the reason why I'm sitting there bringing that up is because I saw it on IG. And, 1 second. I saw it on IG. And at first, I was like, wow, that was so long ago. I can't even believe that. And somebody was like, damn, that makes me feel old. Now, I remember the first episode that she came on. And I think it was something along the lines of, like, she was a salvage or something like that, some sort of salvage captain or something, and she was dating some guy or whatever that I think wound up turning out to be a scumbag or something, I don't remember. But the reason why I bring that up is 2 reasons. 1, 17 years, wow. 2, she had a picture of her and the guy who played Jason. Every time I look at that guy, I'm just like, wow, they did his character dirty. They did Tamara Bay's character dirty also. The other woman who played Carly, they did her character dirty too. But just the way that they discarded Drew, people don't really talk about Drew anymore. It's like it's a distant memory. You know, Jason barely talks about Drew. I mean, we all know how Jason is as far as his emotions and stuff like that, but still, even Sam rarely talks about Drew, you know, unless it's to bring down Peter, but other than that, no, not really. And I'm just like, wow, so we just really not gonna try to get justice for Drew. We just don't care anymore? Like, that's just not a factor? I don't know, listen, when it comes towards Jason's, Stephen Burns, that's it. That is it. Don't get me wrong. I love how the other guy played Jason, and I think he did a great job. And I loved his acting and stuff like that. But I mean, come on, this Stephen Burns. You know, it's OG. Yeah, it is what it is. But with that being said, I did like him as Drew Kane, and I felt like they could have got him into some interesting storylines. But for whatever odd reason, I think the whole thing personally fell apart when the guy that played Oscar wanted to leave, because once he died, it just, like, I felt like they couldn't bounce back, and they couldn't bounce back in a way where it would have been positive without coming across like sort of how they did Star's story, like how Hope died or whatever, or they killed off Hope, her daughter, or whatever. But then she's sitting there singing at the nurses' ball and being all happy and cheerful and stuff like that. Like, people complained when she was crying and stuff like that. But then when you see her all like happy and chilling and stuff like that, it's like, you don't really come across as a person that lost their daughter. So I understand how they really couldn't make a way for them to bounce back. But it's like, every time I look at his picture, I'm just like, wow, they really did him dirty. And that's just my rant. So, sorry this came out longer than it really originally did, but I'm going to be honest, that review was like about 10, 12 minutes long in general. So, anyway, with that being said, I appreciate for the people who watched, because I know a lot of people are going to watch, because it's like 11 o'clock now, but if you watch tomorrow, that'd be great. And tomorrow I get out a more reasonable time, so it won't be this 11 o'clock at night. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. Have a good night. Good day if you're watching this tomorrow. Be safe. I'll catch you in the next review.